Heyo people! I know I'm a bit late, but work has been worky. Meanwhile, in Aura Kingdom, the patch has been very existing for already nearly 3 weeks. I'm sorry for the delay, really. Let's get right into it with the patch celebration present given out to every player. I'm sure you've seen it in your item mall cart, but that is the special patch present. Remember that you must take it out of your item mall cart as it will be removed after the patch events end if you don't take it out. Inside this present you'll find 6 boxes, each containing various goodies, and if you've opened one before, you have a pretty good idea of what to expect, but I want to draw your attention to the Crystal Essence Exchange Voucher and the Summon Contract Voucher. In the past, they have offered specific contracts and specific Anima, but this time they have included vouchers for you to pick which one you like. Admittedly, the contract pickings are pretty slim, but the Anima offerings are pretty good. Your Anima choices are Bastet for Lightning, Zephy for Fire or Dark, Muse for Holy, Succubus for Dark, Gembu for Ice, and Amaterasu is kind of odd. She seems to be a kind of generic choice, so to speak, but I am not good at crunching numbers to see if she is better than any of the other ones situationally. And sadly, that means there is no Sturm-specific choice available. Your contract choices are Cute Simon, Cute Izzy, and Happy Flower Girl. I'm leaning towards Izzy being my choice because I don't think a 1% chance of battering, which is a Zeal, is really better than 3% crit damage unless you're super overcapped on crit damage already. And of course, the key vouchers. I stand behind Verdandi as my first recommendation if you don't intend to use any of the Voucher 1 Eidolons on field. You can check out my old Eidolons 101 video for more info about why, but note that some of the other details in that video are now dated. As for Voucher 2, you have Qingmiao, Festival Muramasa, Elizabeth, Seiryu, Aoandon, Sif, or Ares. The most versatile Eidolon of the bunch that is a boon to any class, any element, would be Festival Muramasa with her excellent buff skill, but these are all non-spawn Eidolons, so it's worth checking their archives to see if any individual one will complete a good archive for you. And Aoandon is still a surprisingly great fire Eidolon, even for endgame if you can handle her hoarder sound effects. And if you, like me, already have all of these Eidolons above 3-star, grab anyone with a gold background anyway. You can sell the keys for 100 Eidolon coins in Navia, or break them apart into frags with the encyclopedia to complete their wish. Before we get to the specific Grenadier and Guardian changes, I'm going to go over the other changes that will affect all players. First up, the immediate channel and character selection return option. I appreciate this so much for my evening Dimension Hall run with my friend. It saves us a solid 2 minutes at least, each day. Yes, we run that many characters daily. That's 2 minutes earlier to bed for me every night, or it would be if I didn't stay up reading and waiting for Paragon to change. Anyway, for most players, I think the main benefit of this would be more like faster switches for goat hunting or gathering mats. Another thing this is nice for, if you're not familiar with how relogging in dungeons works, is teleporting. If, for example, you join a friend or stranger for a spawn in a dungeon and they don't have roar, you can teleport to where the party leader is inside a dungeon by relogging while inside the dungeon. So this makes that a little faster too. And speaking of things being faster, using items is faster. This has 2 parts, the opening timer and the global cooldown after. Items like dimensional hall bags have had their time to open reduced by half a second. Sorry for the terrible before footage here. I couldn't find any footage stored on my PC, so I went through old live streams until I found myself opening one. As for items that don't have timers, by referencing my old short on how to take advantage of the auto potion slot, I have this old footage of using LP as a perfect comparison to today's, and LP now takes 5 frames less on 60 frames per second play. Yeah, the global timer is a modicum faster. Not that anyone cares this much, but on frame-by-frame analysis, on occasion the timer will actually start at 0.9 seconds instead of 1 second. But as you can see from my example on screen here, it's still barely 1/10 of a second faster, even if it starts at 1.0. It seems like the auto potion might be slightly snappier too, as it gained an extra frame back to an even 6 per LP use when using auto potion. But if your reaction time is faster than auto potion, you can use them about 1/10 of a second faster. Honestly, I can't imagine anyone else cares this much about LP being 1/10 of a second faster, but I was surprised when I lined up the footage to check and saw that the LP usage compared against before was in fact faster than before, when it didn't really feel like it and the numbers were the same. Anyway, next onto things that people do care about, we have the new currency transfer system, which comes along with the gold cap increase to 1 million. As you can see here, this is clearly not a concern for me, but as I often say, I don't keep gold long, I like to spend it. Don't worry about my lack of funds here, I just spent 20k to finish my Miketsukami, so I need to get back on the grind as soon as I finish making this video. Let me show you how the gold transfer system works right now though. The top box is the type of currency, which at this time is only gold, and I'm not sure what other currencies could be transferred in the future. I guess we'll see. I would love to see fragments for fortification transferable. The second box is the character you're transferring the currency away from, and by default it will be the character you're on. But I want to move gold to my current character so I can spend it on something silly, so I'm going to change it to my richest alt. The third box is who you're moving the gold to, so I've checked my current character. Then finally, the last section is how much you want to move. I'll take 100G, just for the show. Once you've typed in the amount, you can use the confirm transfer button to make the move. The history records will show you from oldest on top to newest below, and it has a repeat transaction option. It says it will be cleared during the first maintenance and then gets cut off, so it may be first maintenance of the month, because the last 2 weeks maintenances did not clear my history of moving all my G to mid to make more Miketsukami egg purchases. Anyway, this is nice. Now when I see people selling things I want, I don't need to hop alts to gather up enough G to afford a COD. Now, let's talk about a somewhat controversial change. Temple of Gaia drops. For the older, grey background key Eidolons, emblems have been removed from the drop tables, and instead they now drop more experience crystals, and significantly more fragments. Even without any charms on, you will be coming out of each run with significantly more fragments than before, but note, in this particular footage I am using a +3 drops charm. The chests at the end in party modes now drop emblems in stacks of 5 to make up for the Eidolons missing them, but the gold background Eidolons do still have them as well. The Abyss instances are also supposed to have increased fragment drop rates according to the notes. I did run Abyss of Light a few times to test out my Guardian pre and post patch, and I can confirm I didn't get any frags in my run before, and I've got 3 Nulliny frags in a total of 4 runs after, so anecdotally this checks out, but it's not really at the same level that Gaia has been buffed. And here's the real rub. The Eidolon coins from selling the lower rarity fragments, specifically the ones that have a grey background, have been reduced to 1 coin each, and the cost of the Eidolon wishing coins has increased to 250 coins. This means that to complete just the final wish of an Eidolon with wish coins, you will need 8,000 Eidolon coins. A player in the Discord used their own drop numbers and estimated several months of daily farming would be needed to get enough for one final wish. But I do want to point out that especially if you're free to play, you probably want to be linking your Eidolons as well, so though it may take that long to skip one final wish, during that time you can still be working on any other wishes. I feel like the price could still be a lot lower though, so I hope they revisit that. Just don't bet on it. The 250 coin price stands on the Taiwan server. And now for the badder news. The first Temple of Gaia, the one with 3 chests, no longer has LP in it, and is now once per day. Honestly, this sucks, but the drop tables here have also had fragments massively increased. So if you're newer and still working on these old Eidolons, you will have the keys to 3-star these basic Eidos in no time flat. The chests each have specific Eidolons now as well, so you can aim for the ones you need more efficiently. Also, I've got confirmation that Cecila does still spawn too, but she has her old drop table. Keep in mind, she never did have the 200 LP vouchers though, just the 10 and 5s. The Eidolon crystals that these guys drop now is used to exchange for the basic Eidolon tokens too, so if you're still finishing up your Eidolon gear, you can use those for the ones you're missing. The exchange NPC is Henrik, right outside the temple, and the tokens range from 1 to 5 crystals each. And finally, because this is Eidolon related, I'll slip it in here, Chiu's 3-star form has dropped. Check it out, she's pretty cute. Speaking of drops, some HST bosses now drop Olympus Holy Fire Silver Cups. Specifically the bosses on floors 55, 60, 65, and 70. Yes, these are the bosses, not the chests, so make sure you're not leeching. Unfortunately, with my day job timing, I haven't been able to get in to get footage, but players are reporting that strong raids are melting the bosses, which makes it somewhat challenging to get the drops if you're not watching the spawn closely or if you're not fast enough. These are for animas, but you will need to run a lot of raids to get your hands on enough cups. It's 50 per anima, and there's 11 to pick from. I really gotta get back to those raids. One small blessing is that these can be stored in the shared warehouse, so if you have multiple characters that can raid, at least you can combine their drops. As usual, we have some temporary events for this patch as well. Aileen is back in Navia and Port Scandia, so make sure to grab her quest experience buff if you're doing dailies. It will get you 6 hours a day of buffed quest experience. The triple experience buff for the Mirabelle solo dungeons dailies quests has been extended for up to the S20 quests, so if you're on the grind, don't miss those ones. Eidolon Links have had heart bonding removed, which is a plus for people who don't like them, and the link time is down to 5 minutes, so you can finish your daily 100 links faster. Armor and weapon crafting costs are currently halved, but note that this does not apply to S30 gear, so no rush to complete those. And finally, stat respec costs are down to 1G, so you can freely mess around with your build. This includes your envoy path, as well as your stat points, and your weapon mastery points. And since we're talking about stats, here's something that wasn't mentioned in the patch notes at all. The old node for item drop rate in weapon mastery has been changed to physical resistance increase. Drop rate has merged with heal for a heal and drop rate buff, which is nice. But if you had a farming character with a full drop rate plus build, make sure to take advantage of the 1G reset to reset it and move it over. Even if you have 20 points in physical resistance increase, its cap is 15 and those extra 5 points are wasted. May as well continue on the not in the patch notes category. Max guild size has now increased to 170 players, and this is at level 10, so you don't need to farm more guild contribs for it. Likewise, there are now higher level guild online buffs that include more experience buffs. Now, for news in the LP store, one additional Eidolon has been added, Hermes. This is the first time this has happened since X-Legend took over. Hermes is available for the same price as Hades, for 49,999 LP for a full key, or 4,999 for a frag. Yes, this is expensive, but Hermes frags do drop in Vault of Eternity, so I think you might be better off just using LP if you're close to finishing a key rather than buying right out. She has some really nice archives though. I'll point out specifically the Hades and Hermes 12% move speed buff, with both now being LP Eidolons. Get hunting those goats and run your daily vaults if you need more LP. Also unmentioned in the patch notes is that there have been costumes added to other categories as well, including mounts. Personally, I'm a big fan of the big yuppie coat. I've wanted it for a while, but it's also 4,999 LP, so I'll save up a bit more for a buffer before I buy it. Speaking of store changes, for the first time since X-Legend took over, a costume has been added to the voucher store. This is referring to the vouchers you get for opening eggs or fantasy gift vouchers from Paragon. I'm glad to see it noted on the patch notes, as I would have missed that for sure. Hopefully we see some of the newer Eidolons added soon too, so players with capped vouchers can make better use of them. Anyway, let's finally make it to the main meat of the patch, the Grenadier and Guardian class reworks. Actually, psych! I'm planning to release separate videos about the details of the reworks, so this isn't going to be a data dump here. We are expecting an additional adjustment for both soon, so I think it's prudent to save going over the details once we have that. For now, I think I will just share my first impressions after playing each path. First up, Grenadier. Thank you so much to everyone who joined in on the live stream, but the truth is I barely got to experience what the class is actually like, because I went through it all so fast. So, after we did the live stream, I ran through Silent Ancient Castle again, which I had done for B-roll on my last video. Wearing slightly worse gear, I found that it was a lot stronger and a lot more fluid and responsive in terms of how long skills take to cast and hit, but honestly I'm mostly just spamming the lightning bounce skill. At first I thought the fire skill that leaps over the enemy was kinda janky, but I've started to make use of it to avoid carpets and it feels nice when used well. I wouldn't use it while running between bosses, and not being able to jump cast it kinda sucks, but when I swapped over to playing on a controller and put it on my second skill bar, I found it really useful for quick evasion. As for Destroyer Path, as you can see from the footage here, I literally haven't tried it before right now, and well, whatever this skill is, I can't put it in my skill bar. Probably restricted to above level 60 for mastery? I will work on making that happen as best I can to try it out for the detailed overview video. It's neat how you can get both turrets and your destroyer out, but personally I'm vibing more with the lightning bounce path, which is probably not a surprise if you watched any of my Ravager live streams, but I promise I will get into details for both sides on Grenadier in a dedicated video. Now for Guardian. I have always had mine on the defensive mastery for Roar Gather. It's fun and silly, But primarily, I run the Light and Dark Abysses with my Guardian for farming Soulsucker ore, and that's what makes her do it the fastest. The downside for the new mastery is that Roar does not gather until you reach level 60 mastery. Some players are reporting that it's not working properly when you swap mastery path and then swap back, but that reslotting the skill should fix it. I haven't personally experienced that. But look at this! I love this! Gathering is fun! Note that to reach this far of a range, you do need to have the Roar range plus Secret Stone, and on that note, the names for the new Guardian Secret Stones all say error, so hopefully that gets fixed soon. The effects are still listed though. Now, the right lightning DPS path, which will be your main choice for DPS Guardian. Sadly, there's an issue with it. Its cooldown is far too long on the new lightning skill after you pass level 60 mastery. This is supposed to be adjusted soon, along with a bit of a nerf, because it's really very ridiculously strong at level 60 mastery. 900% damage? I don't really want to assign intent here, but it kind of feels like they wanted the skill to fulfill two different roles with the way they designed it. Before level 60 mastery, it's a stackable lightning debuff, and after 60 it changes to a boss nuke with a high cooldown? It feels like a strange choice as they haven't done anything like that before, but it's my understanding that that will be changing in the second adjustment that we are still anticipating arriving shortly. In general, Guardian went from a farming cutie to an actually enjoyable class for me in this patch, and I'm looking forward to pushing mine into late game soon. But, and I'm saying it again, for these two classes we are expecting further adjustments, so I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty until we have that, as that will be the long-term experience. I've already delayed this video enough. I think a dedicated video for each one will be a better choice after we see that second adjustment. Let me know which one you want to see in the comments. And finally, addressing some bugs. Some players were reporting that their Guardian Night quests have not been resetting properly, and that is supposed to have been fixed. The physics on the Stellar Saphir class has also been fixed. Did you ever notice that your hair or clothes were clipping oddly with your character if you were playing Stellar Saphir? Yeah, that's supposed to be gone now. And it is for me. Now it's only the normal amount of clipping. I like my costume here, but I actually picked it because it didn't have as much clipping issues as the other one I wanted to use, but it's been a year and I don't remember what the other one I wanted to use was anymore. The guild quiz event has been temporarily closed. Every question was just error, so this couldn't be played before anyway, and they plan to fix it, but since we're probably looking at MTL questions and answers, we will probably end up looking at the database for the answers anyway, since I don't have a lot of faith in MTL. Note this is not the same as the PvP quiz, which is also still broken. I made a joke about this a while ago, that the PvP quiz is now a psychic powers detection system, since it's 50-50 every round. If you get significantly higher or lower than 50% right, it's possible you're a latent Esper. Very cool. The last thing before I leave you for the day, the 100% spawn rate is over, but perhaps not completely. It appears that Tsubaki in the level 50 dungeons and in the Oblitus level 55 dungeon is still 100%, and Serena seems to have a 100% spawn rate in Wrathborn Temple. At the very least, after several tries, she spawned every time for me and my testing buddy. With that being said, thank you for your patience and thanks for watching. This took much longer than it should have to get out. I'm positive there's going to be things I missed too, as you just never know with how things get skipped in the patch notes. And more importantly, thank you to the Aura Kingdom official Discord as well as the Transcendent Guild Discord. It was thanks to everyone mentioning the things they found that weren't in the notes that I was able to cover it. But even in the patch notes, there's still some mysteries to uncover. Specifically, there's a patch note that says, invitation points up to 99,999? I have no idea what that's supposed to be. If you have an idea, let me know. I've heard a theory that it might be vouchers, but I'm clearly not in a position to test that. If there's anyone at 9,999 vouchers that wants to test for me, I'll send you an old egg for free. Just send me a screenshot on Discord of your cap vouchers and I'll send it over. Offer for US server only though. And of course, if there was anything else that I missed, please do leave a comment. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.